Hey everyone, welcome to another NFL video. In this one, we're going over my top 3 favorite plays at each position for week 1 of the NFL season on Draftkings. And I'm also curious to know in the comments below who your lock of the week is for Draftkings this weekend. I'll tell you right now, mine is Dalvin Cook. I know that's pretty obvious, but it's just the truth. So, in the comments below, just leave your lock of the week, maybe a sentence explaining why. Love to hear what you guys think. Also, before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if this cheat sheet is piquing your interest behind me, this is my entire NFL sheet. It's got all the data I use to make my videos and my just my picks for the week, I guess you can call it, or make my lineups. It condenses everything in one spot. You don't have to have 50 tabs open, spending hours on research. Everything's all color-coded. It's nice and neat. Everything's labeled, and it's got all the stats I think are necessary to help you build lineups. So, like for wide receivers, we'll have the cornerback data, but the individual cornerback data, all the stats you need. DraftKings points per game allowed to the position. I got projected ownership on there that I pull, and just a bunch of stuff. So, if you're interested, link in the description below for my Patreon. Enough plug. Oh, I also have the showdown slate projections on there, my cash rankings, my GPP targets, all that good stuff. So, enough plugging. Let's get into the meat of this. All right, now that we're on DraftKings, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. So first off, I want to talk about, no surprise here, Jameis Winston at 6,600 versus the 49ers. You guys know I love this game for fantasy. I pressed the wrong button. Love this game for fantasy this weekend. It's a close spread. 2 pretty below average defenses should be played at a decently high pace. Bruce Arians is now the head coach, which means a increase in passing volume for Winston, even though they threw the ball a ton last season. But they got the weapons to do it. He's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard to work with, even Brashad Perriman on a long ball. He's got the weapons to do it. 6,600. It's a great matchup for him. Like I said, this is going to be a great game for fantasy, in my opinion. Although I will say there's a concern with Jameis Winston, and that is turnovers. But what do the 49ers not do well? They don't turn the ball over. Last season, they only averaged 0.13 interceptions per game. If you do the math on that for a 16-game span, it's very, very low. It was worst in the league by far. I mean, the second lowest I'm seeing on this, if I'm just running through it here, I got my sheets printed out, so I'm just kind of reading off those because I can't remember every single stat in my head. But lowest I'm seeing right now is 0.56. So, I mean, 0.13 is very dramatically low. So they don't turn the ball over, which is great for Winston because he loves to turn the ball over and make stupid mistakes. So those should be sparse in this matchup. They allowed 2.19 touchdowns per game, which led the league, or at least the slate. 247 passing yards per game, over 20 DraftKings points allowed, and we're 27 DVOA versus the pass. Chris Godwin's in an awesome matchup. Mike Evans should be able to handle his matchup. O.J. Howard will be fine. I think Winston's in a great spot here. He's my highest projected quarterback of the week, and I think he's an awesome play. He's about... See, Patrick Mahomes is 7,200, so you get about 600 savings off of that, and I think Winston's right up there with being the top quarterback of this slate. Love this game. Love this matchup for Winston. I'd plug him in all formats. Next guy I want to talk about is, Carson Wentz at 5,700. He's just way too cheap in my opinion. I think he's great for cash games. A lot of people are going to play Kyler Murray, including me. I'm still deciding where I want to go with cash, either Kyler Murray or Carson Wentz. Although I'm leaning Carson Wentz now because I feel like he's just a little bit safer. Kyler Murray is unproven. Carson Wentz is proven. He's done it for a couple seasons now. And he's healthy, and he's been great when he's healthy, and he has a full onslaught of weapons here. He's got possibly the best weapons group in the league. He's got Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, ring-fingerless Deshaun Jackson, Miles Sanders out of the backfield. I know Jordan Howard's not going to be involved in the passing game, really, but he's in on there too. This offense should be great. He's got a good offensive line. I think he's in a fantastic matchup, and according to PFF, his offensive line has the second best offensive line, defensive line matchup for the passing game, so he should have time to throw. The Redskins' defense is not going to be good. The Redskins aren't going to be good overall. They're probably going to be the worst team in the league, if not close to it. And I don't see how Wentz fails here. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns seems like a pretty sure bet for him. The only thing you'd be worried about is if they get too quick of a big lead and they just start kind of running the ball, Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard. But he should be able to get the job done. If they get to big of a lead early, that's probably off the hands of Carson Wentz. So do like Carson Wentz. I think he's very safe. And let's talk about a little bit more riskier guy, although he's really not that risky because of his rushing ability. In Kyler Murray, he's only 5,600, 100 cheaper than Carson Wentz, and he's gonna probably battle He's gonna probably be first in ownership for quarterbacks, if not close to it. I think Wentz will be up there too, and Winston. They're probably gonna be the 3 highest owned quarterbacks, but they're all fantastic plays in my opinion. So let's talk about the number 1 overall pick, Kyler Murray. He's going to be fun for fantasy, I think. Hopefully. I don't know if he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. I know that's a hot debate on Twitter. Some people are way for Kyler Murray. Some people are way against them. And it's kind of fun to see him on Twitter. But yeah, he had one decent preseason game. And there was one preseason game where everyone was like just dogging him. But I think he's going to be fine. He's facing a Detroit team who was 31st DVOA versus the pass last season. Now, I will say there's a concern with his offensive line. They're getting a negative 11% advantage going up against the Lions. And we'll say that is a little bit of concern, but he can run the ball very well, which we love in our quarterbacks. Think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Not the best throwers in the world, but they can get the job done on the ground, and so can Kyler Murray. But Kyler Murray's actually a pretty good passer. Now he doesn't have a strong supporting group, but they can still get the job done. He's got David Johnson out of the backfield, who's a nice safety blanket as well. And with his rushing ability, I think he's one of the safer plays at 5,600 versus the Detroit Lions at home. So do like that quite a bit. I think he's going to be pretty chalky. And if you're going to be in cash games, I really think it's between Carson Wentz and Kyler Murray. Jameis Winston more of a GPP option. Although I will say he's fine for cash, but I want to get that 1,000 saving with Wentz and Kyler Murray. So all 3 fantastic plays. It's really just pick your poison there. So let's move on to the running back position. And obviously we're going to start this off with Dalvin Cook. He's been in pretty much every single video I have posted so far for week 1, but it's for a good reason. He's in an awesome spot, and we just can't get away with it at this. We just can't get away from it at this price. Atlanta was 30th DVOA versus the run last season. They allowed over 30 DraftKings points per game, nearly 100 yards per game on the ground, nearly a touchdown. They were terrible through the air. That's the thing I love about Dalvin Cook. He is good in the passing game, and the Falcons were 28th DVOA versus pass catching running backs last season and allowed the most receiving yards per game to the running back position. Dalvin Cook is in a smash spot. I don't see how you get away from him. I know you want to be different in GPPs, but I mean, more than likely this guy is going to smash and crush value. Lock him in your cash games. I get it if you want to fade in GPPs. I wouldn't personally, but cash games, you got to put him in. He's going to be the highest owned running back, possibly the highest owned player on the slate, but it's just a smash spot for him. I almost said the Falcons. The Vikings are moving towards a run-heavy scheme, so I think Dalvin Cook, it makes too much sense not to play him this weekend. Then the next guy I want to talk about is Chris Carson, who is priced near him. He's 5,700. Now, I would have had Tony Pollard on this video, but Zeke came back, and that ruined all that Pollard fun. But it's fine. We got plenty of good options too. So Chris Carson going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. They are huge favorites at home, which is great for running backs because when you're a huge favorite at home, you tend to run the ball more. And the Seahawks already run the ball a ton, more than anybody last season. The Bengals were 26th DVOA versus the run last season, allowed over 31 DraftKings points per game, which was worst, and allowed 114 rushing yards per game, nearly a touchdown per game. And they were bad through the air as well. And Chris Carson is supposed to be involved in the air more this season. And they were actually worse than the Falcons in terms of DVOA. They were 31st DVOA for pass catch from running backs and allowed 54 yards per game through the air to running backs. So I think Chris Carson is an awesome play in all formats. He's going to be pretty chalky, but it makes a ton of sense. He's going to get a whole bunch of work. 20 carries wouldn't surprise me. Maybe it catches a couple balls, and he should be able to grind the game out here. So love Chris Carson at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the next guy I want to talk about is Leonard Fournette, who is 6,100. All these guys are priced pretty similar. I think they're all just mispriced, and they're all in fantastic matchups. So Lenny, he loves to get hurt, but he's healthy right now. Apparently he's had a tremendous offseason. He looks really good, should be involved in the passing game more. It's a good matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs, who were absolutely dreadful versus the run last season. They were dead last in the NFL DVOA versus running backs, 32nd. The Jags have an defensive line advantage here, which I do like to see. They allowed over 30 DraftKings points per game to the position, 113 yards per game, nearly a touchdown per game. And versus pass catching running backs, they were not good at all either. 21st DVOA versus pass catching running backs, allowed 56 yards through the air per game. And Fournette's supposed to be involved in the passing game more, and more than likely the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be trailing in this game, and they're going to have to keep up. They got rid of TJ Yeldon, so like I said, that has to mean more catches for Fournette. He's going to be the bell cow here. Should get over 20 touches in this game, hopefully. So definitely love Leonard Fournette. I think he's a fine flex option after you plug in Chris Carson or Dalvin Cook. So do like Leonard Fournette a lot heading into this game. So now let's get on to the wide receiver position, and we're going to start with an obvious Chris Godwin here. And man, he's going to be chalky this week, but again, it's like Dalvin Cook, it's great chalk, and I don't see how we get away from Chris Godwin. Like I've said all week, I love this game for fantasy, and I love the matchup. The 49ers were terrible through the air last season, like I've said, but let's talk about their statistics versus the wide receiver position. They were 27th DVOA versus the pass, allowed nearly 40 DraftKings points per game to the position overall. He's got a great individual matchup versus Quan Williams, who has really struggled. I think Chris Godwin can definitely handle his own there. And I'll lose my spot here. They allowed 1.69 touchdowns per game to receivers, which was most on the slate here, 157 yards per game. And I think it's just a fantastic matchup. I'd love to pair him up with Jameis Winston if you can, especially in GPPs, although everyone's going to do that. But still, I think it's fine. Chris Godwin should see a ton of work throughout this. I say work like he's a running back. He should see a ton of targets. I know Bruce Arians has really talked him up this offseason. 100 receptions, never coming off the field. Yeah, we've heard it all. But Chris Godwin, he's a great talent. I buy into the hype here, and I love him. He's my wide receiver one for this week if you just base off price and what he's supposed to, his overall, probably what his target share is going to be in involvement in this game. I absolutely love Chris Godwin. Next guy I want to talk about is Tyler Boyd at 5,800. Is he the best talent in the world? No, he's not. But AJ Green is gone for, a few weeks at least. And Boyd, pretty much the wide receiver one on this team right now. And I don't love Tyler Boyd, but the Seahawks, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be trailing in this game more than likely, unless Andy Dalton just pulls a rabbit out of the hat or something. But they're going to have to be passing late in the game, even if this is all done in garbage time. Those points are still worth just as much as it would be if he did it earlier in the game. Sorry, I kind of butchered that sentence there. But yeah, he's got a decent matchup in the slot here, and I think he should be fine. He should get there on volume alone. Is he a flashy play? No, but he's a pretty safe play. 10 to 15 points seems like it's, I wouldn't say a lock, but it's a high probability of him seeing 10 to 15 points. And that's really all we need at 5,800. If he gets into the end zone, great. He had some pretty nice games last season. And like I said, they should be trailing. They're going to have to throw the ball, and they don't have much targets. They don't have many guys to throw the ball to, and Tyler Boyd's going to be the number one option. So don't mind Tyler Boyd. I think he's a pretty safe play. Should be decently high-owned in cash games. The next guy I want to talk about is Curtis Samuel. He's going to be high-owned again. They're all going to be high-owned for good reason. These are kind of, I feel like I'm just talking up all the chalky plays, but they're the best plays of the week. They're chalky for a reason. I mean, sometimes there's bad chalk, but I like Curtis Samuel a lot. He was great this offseason. I mean, he's been talked up a ton this offseason. A lot of people are saying he was the MVP of the training camp offseason. All the highlights you see, it's been Curtis Samuel with Cam Newton. Cam Newton does not have his noodle arm anymore. That was tough to see last season. The surgery went well. He's healthy. Curtis Samuel, he's fast. He can make good things happen when he gets the ball in space. He is going to see a decent target share in this offense, and playing the Rams, they're going to have to throw the ball to stay, to keep pace with them. The Rams should be able to put up some points, and the Panthers have the potential to put up points. They just need to connect, and I think Curtis Samuel at 4,200 is a steal. All right, let's get to the defenses. We're still on tight ends here. So my number one tight end of the week, I guess technically it could be Travis Kelce just from a raw projection viewpoint, but I want to talk about Hunter Henry first at 3,900. This is going to be another chalky play, but it's for good reason. He is going up against the Colts, who were dreadful versus tight ends last season. Let me make sure I got this pulled up. Yeah, they were 29th DVOA versus the position, allowed over 16 DraftKings points per game, which I believe was worst outside of the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs actually allowed the most, and then it was the Colts. But they did allow the most yards per game to the position at 77 yards per game, 3.31 touchdowns, which honestly is not a lot, but you should get there in volume. The corpse of Antonio Gates is finally gone, so Hunter Henry has been freed. He's healthy coming off that injury a year ago. So do like Hunter Henry. He's just way too cheap. He should definitely hit value, and he's one of the safer plays. No Melvin Gordon. You have to think that maybe Hunter Henry gets maybe at least one more target than he would. So I think Hunter Henry is a fantastic play at only 3,900. It's going to be tough to pick between him or Travis Kelce in your lineups because obviously Travis Kelce's got that amazingly high ceiling and floor, but I think Hunter Henry has a decently high ceiling. Obviously nowhere near Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce can always go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. It would surprise no one. If Hunter Henry went for that, I think we'd be a little surprised. I know he's a pretty good player and good talent, but I would be pretty shocked if he did that. But 60, 70 yards and a touchdown, that's not out of the question for Hunter Henry. I think he's got a decently safe floor, not as high of a ceiling as Travis Kelce. But let's talk about Travis Kelce. So the Jaguars did lose some weapons on the defense, but it's still not the best matchup overall, but it's Travis Kelce. I mean, he'll be fine no matter who. Jalen Ramsey is going to be shadowing Tyreek Hill, which is good because we don't want him anywhere near Travis Kelce. And with him shadowing Tyreek Hill and AJ Boye's outside as well, Travis Kelce, it should funnel some more targets to Travis Kelce. Last season he had a 5-reception, 100-yard game versus the Jags. If he can do the same thing and get a touchdown, we're going to be very happy. I think he's one of the most safe plays in fantasy every single week. So don't mind Travis Kelce if you can afford him. And honestly, you can't afford him this week with the running backs being so cheap and the wide receivers being so cheap as well. Then, last guy I want to talk about is Evan Engram at 4,800. I actually forgot to press the Travis Kelce button. I apologize. But let's talk about, and the Hunter Henry. I forgot to press the buttons for all these guys, I think. But no, I did the Hunter Henry one. Just forgot Kelce. But Engram, Odell is gone. We know how good Engram was with Odell missing, and he's obviously quite a few miles away from New York now. He's in Cleveland. And the Dallas was not very good versus the tight end position last season. We're 21st DVOA. Only allowed 10 points per game, which honestly is not that bad. But I do like Evan Engram. He is an athletic freak. I shouldn't say he's like a freak, but he's very talented. He's not a stiff board like some tight ends are, like Jason Witten's going to catch the ball and fall down. Evan Engram can run after he catches the ball and make moves. If he gets the ball in open space, he's fast. He can make good things happen. And I don't know if you guys just saw the report. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but it said that Evan Engram, they have big plans for him for week 1. And I imagine throughout this season, Evan Engram is a fantastic talent. He seems way too cheap at 4,800. Should be pretty much the number one target on this offense, maybe outside of Saquon Barkley. So definitely love Evan Engram. He's a little too cheap here. He's about 900 more than Hunter Henry, and I think he's got a higher ceiling as well. And let's talk about the defenses now, the boring part of this video, but we got to do it because we got to play defense, unfortunately. But I think the obvious choice here is the Ravens going up against Miami. They have the Dolphins have the lowest implied total of the slate. The Ravens have an elite defense. Miami's only got a 16-point total, which is, by far the lowest. I think just the Ravens are a fantastic play. They're safe. Fitzmagic, he can do some Fitzmagic and throw 5 touchdowns, but I think more than likely we see the 6 interception Fitzpatrick. Now, I'm not saying he's going to throw 6 interceptions, but turnovers should be in order. They don't have much on offense to scare me. They just traded away Kenny Stills. Not too concerned about anyone on the Miami offense. I think the Ravens are one of the safest plays on the board at defense. Well, they are the safest. Then the next defense I want to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks. They were just huge favorites at home. That's what I like to see. They play better at home. They got the 12th man. That stadium's rocking. Bengals are not good. Andy Dalton has not looked good this preseason. He just really never looks good anyway. They don't have A.J. Green. They lost some of their offensive line. Joe Mixon should have some trouble here. They just traded for Jadeveon Clowney. That's a huge boost. We should probably mention that, huh? So, could be a nice sack party. Well, I guess he's not the best pass rusher. He's an elite rush defender, though. But Jadeveon Clowney definitely helps this defensive line. The defensive line is not bad at all. So I think the Seahawks are a pretty safe play. They're huge favorites at home. I think, they're 10-point favorites. Only a 16.5 total for the Bengals. Seahawks are looking like a pretty good defense for week 1. And then the last guy I will leave you guys with is the Eagles. I think they're a pretty solid play here. They're playing at home. They got some talent on that defense. They are what are they? They 7-point. No, they're 8.5-point favorites, which is pretty substantial. The Redskins only have an 18-point implied total against them. The Redskins are probably going to be a mess this season. Like I said, one of the worst offenses in the league. They do not have a lot working for them over there. So I think they are a fantastic play as well. They are only 3,600. I say only, but the Ravens are 3,800, so you do get some savings there. The Seahawks were the cheapest at 3,100. But Eagles should have a good game here. I can't imagine them getting blown up really or allowing too many points with that Washington offense. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for the video. Hope it was helpful for you guys. And remember, if you like my NFL sheet, links in the description below for my Patreon. And I have my Slack chat as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the support recently. I went from 1,400 to 1,650 or something, like in a matter of 2 days. That was awesome. So, see you guys in the next